Hi, my name is James Iman, and I'm a Pittsburgh-based pianist specializing in music of the 20th and 21st centuries, and I'll be playing at Chatham University's Friday Musicale on October 16th at 4 p.m. I'll be playing 4 works, all of them by female composers, the first of which is by the British composer Elizabeth Lutens. She was born in 1906, and by the time she was 9, she already expressed aspirations for becoming a composer. She ended up studying in Paris for a year before she traveled to India with her mother. Upon returning, she finished her studies in music at the Royal Conservatory in London. She became interested in the music of Schoenberg and is credited with introducing Schoenberg's 12-tone composition to the UK and being the first composer to, of course, write 12-tone music in England. This piece is reflective of her mature approach to 12-tone composition, and it's very similar, I think, in mood to some of the later works of Scriabin, which is probably not accidental because she, much like Scriabin, became interested in the Theosophical Society. The work's called plenum, and it's a philosophical word that describes the presence of all matter, what you might think of as a singularity. And it's a very apt word because it, I think, describes the structure of the piece. It all grows out of a single note, which becomes 2, and then 4, and then expands from there. Gestures are introduced and then expanded not only across the range of the keyboard, but also the dynamic range of the instrument. And by the time we get to the end of the work, we return to the same notes that we began with, sort of a musical big bang and big crunch, you might say. The second is selections from a set of pieces by Jen Strider. One of the things that I find unique, or I think it's unique, about growing up in the information age is that there are a lot of people from my generation and since whose first aesthetic experiences are with art of the modernist and postmodernist era, and this is true of Jen Strider, in that her interest in becoming a composer came about because of her contact with European modernism. Fenster, of course, means window, and I also think that this name is apt, in that not only are the pieces slight in their length, but also their material, much like a window limits one's ocular perspective. Each of the pieces is concerned with one idea, which occasionally has smaller ideas introduced but unobtrusively. They are contemplative works, and one of the things that Jen Strider has expressed is that she writes music to create a sense of solidarity with marginalized groups. And in this instance, it's gender that she's concerning herself with. We have in the English language words like hysteria, which historically have been used to describe the supposed emotional and mental instability of women that then went on to be applied more broadly to people who get worked up. Similarly, in music, a lot of the Italian terms that we use as expressive markings have latent in them negative gender associations. And so in some ways these windows are meditations on the sort of historical sexism of these terms. The fourth is a work by an Indonesian composer named Socheng Marching. Kenang translates to remembering or reminiscence, and she wrote it in 1997, just before she left Indonesia for Australia. And the work, she describes the work as being a study for 3 instruments, where the piano is turned into 3 instruments, the keys and the notes produced by the keys, the strings, which are played directly using the hands, and then also the damper pedal of the piano. It's very much a work that is concerned with the beauty of each of these individual moments. And the three instruments of the piece create a layered texture where they're interacting, but in a very indirect way. And the pedal is important not just in creating the sort of sonic resonance where these sounds emerge and exist, but also at times very strategically creating these silences that kind of eliminate the beauty of a moment so that we can come to another one. Marching studied with Chaucoeur, who studied in Paris with both Dutilleux and Messiaen, and I think Canang really exhibits much of Messiaen's fascination and interest in the beauty of instrumental timbres. The last work is by the British-American composer Anea Lockwood, who came to prominence in the 1970s with her set of compositions called Piano Transplants, the most famous being Burning Piano, or Piano Burning, which is simply a set of instructions on how to light a piano on fire. This wasn't uncommon in the 1970s. Composers exhibited a brief fascination with what we call text composition, where the performer may or may not end up playing an instrument and receives just a set of instructions to execute. Lockwood, though, she's not a composer who's interested in fad or sensationalism. This work is very concerned, much like Canang, with the beauty of the combination of tones. The whole work begins very static with 3 B flats that are repeated many times until new material is finally introduced and combined with the pedal B flat. That material slowly grows and permutes until we reach a climax that is not only virtuosic but very appropriate for the name Red Mesa.